The United States Navy has confirmed that the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln recently carried out live-fire exercises in the South China Sea, describing the activity as part of routine operations in the Indo-Pacific region. The Nimitz-class carrier departed its home port of San Diego on November 24th and has been operating in contested waters for several weeks. According to images and captions released by the Defense Visual Information Distribution Service, DVIDS, the vessel has been present in the South China Sea since at least December 26th, following a stopover in Guam, as reported by Stars and Stripes. During its deployment, the USS Abraham Lincoln has conducted a broad range of operational drills aimed at maintaining combat readiness. These activities have included flight operations, replenishment at sea exercises, damage control training, and explosive ordnance disposal drills, the Navy said. Escort ships assigned to the carrier strike group, such as the guided missile destroyer USS Spruance, along with USS Michael Murphy and USS Frank E. Peterson, Jr., have also taken part in the exercises, according to Stars and Stripes. On January 8th, the carrier conducted a live-fire drill involving its Phalanx Close-In Weapon System, CWIS, a radar-guided defensive platform designed to intercept incoming missiles, aircraft, and small surface threats. Photographs released by the Navy showed the system firing from the flight deck while the ship was underway in the U.S. 7th Fleet's area of responsibility. The Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is conducting routine operations in the U.S. 7th Fleet area, the Navy said in an accompanying statement, adding that such patrols are intended to deter aggression, strengthen alliances, and promote regional stability across the Indo-Pacific region. As of the latest imagery released on Friday, the USS Abraham Lincoln remained in the South China Sea. A spokesperson for 7th Fleet Commander Vice Admiral Matthew Comer told Stars and Stripes that the carrier's activities were consistent with standard deployments in the region, which regularly include high-tempo training to ensure operational readiness. The timing of the drills coincides with heightened military activity in East Asia. Shortly after the USS Abraham Lincoln entered the South China Sea, China's People's Liberation Army conducted its own live-fire exercises on December 29th and 30th in waters surrounding Taiwan. China's Eastern Theater Command said the drills, codenamed Justice Mission 2025, were successfully completed and described them as a punitive and deterrent action, according to Channel News Asia. Beijing considers Taiwan a breakaway province that must eventually be reunified with the mainland, a position that has long fueled tensions in the region. The situation has drawn comparisons to Russia's attempt to annex Ukraine, which sparked the ongoing war in Europe. In comments to the New York Times last week, U.S. President Donald Trump said he believed the future of Taiwan was ultimately up to Chinese President Xi Jinping, while cautioning that he would be very unhappy if Beijing attempted to seize the island by force. U.S. policy toward Taiwan is governed by the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, which does not obligate Washington to intervene militarily in the event of an invasion, but requires it to ensure Taiwan has the means to defend itself. In line with that policy, the Trump administration announced $11.1 billion in arms sales to Taiwan last month, marking the largest weapons package approved for the island to date. The Navy says deployments like that of the USS Abraham Lincoln underscore Washington's commitment to maintaining a forward presence in the Indo-Pacific, even as geopolitical tensions continue to rise across the region.
Exercises basically to test encircling Taiwan. Can you explain to us what your knowledge is of that? What do you think about that? Have you had any discussions with China?
Well, I have a great
that?
relationship with President Xi. And he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it. And I don't believe he's going to be doing it.
Does it worry you?
No, nothing worries me. Nothing.
United States has objected to China conducting military drills near Taiwan, saying that the move unnecessarily spiked tensions in the region. U.S. State Department's principal deputy spokesperson Thomas Pigott said China's military activities and rhetoric toward Taiwan and others in the region increased tensions unnecessarily. The State Department urged Beijing to exercise restraint, cease its military pressure against Taiwan, and instead engage in meaningful dialogue. In his New Year address, Chinese President Xi Jinping said that compatriots on both sides of the Taiwan Strait are connected by blood, and the historical trend toward national reunification is unstoppable.
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Tianjin Summit and the Global Women's Summit were successfully convened, and the Hainan Free Trade Port initiated island-wide customs clearance operations.
In order to more effectively address the challenges of climate change, our nation has announced a new round of its nationally determined contributions. Following the introduction of 3 major initiatives, we have put forward the Global Governance Initiative, aiming to promote the establishment of a more just and equitable global governance system.
The world today is fraught with change and turmoil. Some regions are still engulfed in war. China always stands on the right side of history and is willing to work with all countries to promote world peace and development and build a community with a shared future for humanity.
Not long ago, I had the distinct honor of attending the opening ceremony for the National Games. It was truly a heartwarming and gratifying sight to witness Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau participating together. Another policy of the party is to support Hong Kong and Macau in better integrating into the overall national development, ensuring their long-term prosperity and stability. Compatriots on both sides of the strait, blood is thicker than water, and the historical trend of national reunification.
Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te on Thursday vowed to defend the self-ruled island's sovereignty in the face of China's expansionist ambitions, days after Beijing wrapped up live-fire military drills near its shores.
It's clear to see that our current military exercises and arms procurement projects are necessary for Taiwan's national defense and security. This defense budget is also essential for Taiwan to demonstrate to the international community its unwavering resolve to protect the nation and to uphold regional peace and development. So if this budget continues to be delayed, I am indeed, as you mentioned, concerned that the international community will misunderstand Taiwan's determination.
This time, regarding China's military exercises, democratic countries have all spoken out to condemn China's actions, which undermine peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. For many years now, the international community has consistently and unanimously recognized that China is, in fact, the primary troublemaker, actively undermining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. However, it is truly regrettable that even as the international community collectively condemns China's aggressive actions, the opposition party continues to make excuses for Beijing.
As rockets lit up the skies near Taiwan, the President of the United States sounded unconcerned. From Palm Beach, Donald Trump brushed aside fears of escalation, even as China launched live fire drills encircling the self-ruled island.
China's been doing naval exercises basically to test encircling Taiwan. Can you explain to us what your knowledge is of that? What do you think about that? Have you had any discussions with China?
Well, I have a great
that?
relationship with President Xi, and he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it, and I don't believe he's going to be doing it.
Does it worry you?
No, nothing worries me.
But
nothing.
You said where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if you're encircling, if you're doing naval exercises and air exercises.
Well, I've been doing naval exercises for 20 years in that area. Now people take it a little bit differently, but in fact, larger than they're doing right now. So we'll see. But they've been doing that for 20, 25 years, yeah.
But on the ground and in the air, the scenes told a different story. China entered the second day of massive live-fire war games around Taiwan, codenamed Justice Mission 2025. From Pingtan, the closest point on China's coast to Taiwan, AFP journalists watched volleys of rockets blast into the sky, at least 10 fired in rapid succession. China says the drills are simulating a blockade, targeting key Taiwanese ports and practicing assaults on maritime targets. Beijing deployed destroyers, frigates, fighter jets, and bombers, testing sea-air coordination and what it calls integrated blockade and control.
The DPP authorities, in blatant disregard of their persistent Taiwan independence stance, attempt to seek independence by relying on the United States, not hesitating to transform Taiwan into a powder keg and an arsenal. This fully exposes their sinister nature as peace destroyers, troublemakers, and war instigators. External forces using Taiwan to contain China and arming Taiwan will only embolden Taiwan independence separatist arrogance, pushing the Taiwan Strait into a perilous state of conflict and war.
The People's Liberation Army called it a stern warning to what it labels Taiwan independence forces. Taipei calls it military intimidation. Taiwan's defense ministry reports a surge in activity. 130 Chinese aircraft, 14 Navy ships, and multiple government vessels detected near the island in just 24 hours.
Because we must, under the premise of ensuring our national security and sovereignty, take appropriate countermeasures when such a standoff continuously escalates, the two sides will only continue to accumulate the risk of conflict, and it will not help at all to resolve disagreements or different disputes.
Next slide. The number has now increased to 14 Coast Guard vessels, including Qingdao, Matsu, Kinmen, Wukyu, Dongsha, and other outlying islands. The Coast Guard administration immediately dispatched ships and boats to pre-position in all sea areas to respond.
The drills follow major U.S. arms sales to Taiwan and comments from Japan warning that force against the island could trigger a military response.
Violates the Republic of China's Territorial Sea and Contiguous Zone Act.
Beijing blames external forces, warning the Taiwan Strait is being pushed toward what it calls imminent war. Yet from the White House, Trump remains calm. Missiles in the sky, war games at Taiwan's doorstep, and a U.S. president saying he's not worried, even as the region watches every move, holding its breath.